welcome. This is Coach Chris here at the Criticalbench compound, and thank you for joining us with the Strong by Design podcast. I'm sitting here today with two-time Ms Figure Olympia winner Erin Stern, and we've worked with Erin in the past. It's a pleasure to have her here again. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Erin is what we're going to talk about is training like an athlete. That's why we have her here, and that's the first thing that kind of came to my mind when I thought about what am I going to talk about with Erin, who is known for her figure competition, but what makes her her background's in track and field. She was a really high level track and field athlete, and you were like this close, you said, to Olympic trials back in when?
In 2008, I was 3 centimeters away from the Olympic trials.
Yeah, so I mean you were doing nothing like figure based back then, right?
Right,
You were just an athlete, training like an athlete, and then you was like, oh, I could probably do some of this other. And then a couple of years after that is when you got into figure competition, or?
Well, actually it was the summer of 2008. I missed the Olympic qualifying standard by 3 centimeters. And I was devastated, and I was like, I don't have a purpose anymore. And and someone suggested figure competitions. In September of 2008 was my first amateur contest, and then I went pro in November.
Wow.
And won the Olympia a year and a half later.
Which is like probably unheard of.
Yeah.
Somebody that like been working for years and years and years, not getting there, and then you just popped onto the circuit, and I'm like, whoa.
But I had been working for years and years. I was lifting probably for 10 years before I even got on stage, just not for that specific purpose.
But had that instant stage presence and ability to because it's different, obviously, right? It's like showing your body instead of like performing.
Yeah.
Like showing your athleticism,
It's like a beauty pageant for muscles.
Right, exactly.
That part required a little bit of work. I know my first show, I just kind of flipped my hair upside down and sprayed it with hairspray and went out on stage. And I had a friend of the family who was like, honey, you look like a linebacker. He's like, let's fix you. So I worked a lot with posing and the presentation. Like, being a girly girl is a lot of being on stage.
Wow. Yeah, totally. But you obviously you slid right in there quite nicely after, you got used to it.
It did okay, yeah.
And took off. So, kind of like the first official question, I guess, then, after we kind of get some of the backstory. Why is training like an athlete, in your opinion, because I know this is how I feel, why is it the best approach for size and strength gains? Instead of kind of the traditional bodybuilding, that a lot of people end up doing with isolation. But why is the way you train pretty much better for physique?
I have to say that I train both ways. I train like an athlete and I train like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like whenever you train isolation, so if you have a back day or a chest day, separately, the muscles might look good, but they might not flow together aesthetically because they're not really working together. And I think that when training like an athlete, you're using your entire body, you're using power, you're using speed and strength, and you're recruiting a lot more fast twitch muscles. And fast twitch muscles are rounder and fuller, and I believe a lot more beautiful on stage. Looking like an athlete is so important. So you have to train a little bit like a bodybuilder in that you do have to specialize because athletes don't normally have large shoulders and they don't really have the upper lats and the things that are necessary for stage, but you do have to tie everything together with that speed and power work.
Right, with all the compound movements and stuff that you're doing. Yeah, and I think that's what holds people back a lot is they don't incorporate any of some of that more dynamic stuff that shows your athleticism. It's just some of the really cool, the bounding stuff that you do, or just some of the way your body moves. It just looks more fluid and more graceful, I guess, than just kind of
the
robotic, bodybuilding movements or jerking.
And if you're working a lot with machines and you're working a lot with time under tension, I feel like the muscles do get bound up. And so you do start moving a little bit more robotically because you've trained your body to move that way.
Right.
But I do think a lot of people are scared to get into the athletic movements because, let's face it, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
I couldn't go right out and bound when I first started.
Sure.
So it's a matter of just scaling things back and starting out at 60% and then move up to 80% of your max. And it's not so much, I guess it's not so much performing like a high level athlete as it is going through those motions to where they're safe, to where it's close to your max effort and gauging it based on what you can do. And that's what I would recommend for people to get into that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, we all know that it takes a lot of time for it, for you, like you said, it wasn't like you just jumped on stage and you were like winning stuff. You had like 10 years of hardcore training behind you and stuff. It was for performing on the track and the field, not on the stage. But
that's the other thing too, is that whenever I talk to people about training, they're like, well, I wanna look like you on stage.
Yeah.
And I go, well, what's your current routine like?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I do an hour and a half of cardio and I do circuit training. And I was like, look, if you watch television or you open up a magazine or you go on the internet and you look at specific sports, look at basketball players and how their shoulders look, look at track athletes, look at their posterior chain. If you want to look that way, then you have to start training that way.
That's right.
Which means the steady state cardio is going to have you looking like a marathon runner
versus
which
sprinter.
Is skinny fat,
right.
And cortisol levels, stress hormones rise, and so that creates that watery look that a lot of competitors get on stage because they think more is better.
Right. Yeah. Oh, we're still learning, right? We're all still learning. We're all still learning, How much, in your experience, I guess let me back up. How many hours per week would you say are necessary to transform your body if someone came to you, and I'm sure you get questions like this all the time, in 90 days, like they want to go from like here to here, what would be like a hypothetical like week of training for that person, taking into consideration like cardio and strength training?
That's the thing. I would say 5 to 7 hours.
Right.
Period. In a week. And that is
which a lot of people are like, whoa, that's only like an hour a day.
But you're crushing it. So you might have 4 days a week where you're lifting. You do your push-pull exercises. So you might have like a chest and back day, antagonist or opposing muscle groups.
Right.
You might have a push-pull for like arms and shoulders. And then you'd have 2 leg days. And then you have 2 hit days. That's it.
Because I think a lot of people, they immediately think it's like to look a certain way, it's 2 to 3 hours like daily.
Right.
And then, 1,000 crunches. And
tilapia and asparagus.
Yes. I mean, they make it sound like, where it's like, wow, it really sounds like a miserable experience.
For many people it is.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing, is that they'll get to stage, they'll look okay, or they might look pretty good on stage, at least, especially their first time around.
Yeah.
But then you have this terrible rebound because you've primed your body to either gain fat or gain muscle. And most people quit the gym afterwards, because let's face it, if you're spending 3 or 4 hours a day in the gym, you'd want to quit too.
Man, yeah, I can't. In life, I think we find that, at least I've experienced it as I've gotten older, like less is more with a lot of things, and a simpler approach, which is, in terms of how I feel, like the simpler approach is just like moving like we did when we were younger, but just doing it, like kids on the playground and stuff, they're doing all this great dynamic movement, and then we seem to all lose it, and we stop playing physically, and we just get into these like real, like, I don't know, I feel like when I watch you train and the way you incorporate exercises in your training, that there's a lot of play almost, and it's enjoyable, it's fun. And it's not about busting your butt, 10 hours a week doing cardio just to have we burned 1,000 calories on the arc trainer.
Yeah, and I've been there. I've tried that route, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I
have the pictures to prove it.
Yeah, and in my experience, a lot of people I've talked with, it's never like the only time they've ever maybe done extra cardio is like right before a show, just like maybe a few weeks out.
Absolutely.
And
so
otherwise they're barely doing like a lot of steady state cardio.
And you're using that cardio as another tool,
right,
in order to get lean. And that's the goal, is to, if you're trying to lean down, to keep your calories high and to burn as many calories as possible in the gym, to do your circuits, your supersets, that type of thing. Really keep an eye on recovery between sets. So that's why I like the push-pull or the antagonist muscle training, because while you're training your back, your chest gets a break.
Right.
While you're training your chest, your back gets a break. But your heart rate is still going.
Right.
And then by keeping recovery to like 45 seconds to a minute in between sets,
yes,
you're essentially getting the benefits of cardio and you're getting the benefits of weight training.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're combining everything. And I think a lot of people don't do it because it's brutal, like mentally and physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you need to make those the intensity of the workout, and the intensity is like how close together, how much work are you getting done in a short period of time, so that those rest periods become really instrumental in like your success and how many hours a week you're putting into your exercise. All right, so moving on, I want to mention the glutes, because earlier, before we started, we had talked about glutes earlier when we were making videos, and we told you we have a program called Unlock Your Glutes that's become really successful, and glutes just have become just such a popular topic. Like in the last, I don't know, I've been around fitness for a long time, but it just seems like the last year or two, like with the glute bridges and hip thrusts and all this stuff, has just, and just anything that we make or talk about, if it has to do with glutes, instantly gets a lot more reaction or more interaction. Why do you think that is? Do you notice it at all on your end, with no pun intended, like social media platforms or anything like that? I mean, why has the butt become so popular?
I think it's been popular for years outside of the United States. I remember traveling to the Dominican and seeing girls wearing like the singlets, like the one-piece stuff, and they were just doing cable exercises and leg lifts, and that's all they would train.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh, this is ridiculous. And now, a few years later, every gym is full of people doing like leg lifts and the hip thrusts and that type of thing. And, I think it's just, I think it's kind of great, because everyone loves nice round glutes.
Right.
But I think too, for stage, for me, I want to keep them in proportion. So you can't be like a Kim Kardashian walking on stage. Right. And everyone's like, oh, butt.
Right. Yeah. Instantly. Right. Like, yeah. There's a limit, I guess, to like where people, like, how much development are they going for? But I think everyone can agree, like you said, men and women alike, like a flat butt is not like the goal for anybody.
No, pancakes are only good for breakfast.
That's it,
yeah.
Right. So that's what we find, and it seems like a 50-50 interest there. I mean, it seems like for every guy that's interested, or there's a girl interested, it's like split right down the middle. Mm-hmm. So we actually, if you're anyone listening is interested in finding out more about unlocking your glutes, go to www.unlockyourglutes.com and you will be blown away. And even better than that, we have a free 5-minute glute workout that you can grab for free, and that's www.criticalbench.com/glutes. And it's a free 5-minute glute workout that you can grab real quick, and that'll actually lead to the Unlock Your Glutes program, talking about glute development. And it's amazing. I mean, we've made some of the best videos that we have, or in the last year, on our YouTube channel are talking about glutes, and just the many different ways to train them and how important they are in overall health and everything else. So let's talk to the beginner person, because you're all about helping people, like, mm-hmm. right? That's what your mission is, like getting people like on their right path to like fitness and health. What would you say are like the top 3 obstacles or struggles that seem most common, and maybe like what would be your suggestion for overcoming those?
I think as far as a beginner goes, setting objective goals is very important. A lot of people go into the gym and they think, well, I want to lose weight. Mm-hmm. But that's a moving target, mm-hmm. and it's a goal that's based in self-judgment. Right. So it's not something tangible. It's not something you can take out a measuring tape and measure. So create clear, tangible goals. The second obstacle, I would say, is gym intimidation. So yes. it's the girls or the guys who go in and maybe just do cardio, or they stick to the machines because they're afraid of the free weights, and that is a lot of that is mindset. So tweak your brain a little bit. Think about going from exercising to training. If you're training for something, then you remove a lot of these obstacles, and it becomes a lot easier to go into the gym because you have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And then I think the third obstacle would be just diving in too deep and finding a program that's too complex to start. Start with the 6 basic lifts, your fundamental lifts, because that will teach you proper form. And from those 6 foundation lifts, you can change your grips, change your stance, change your weight distribution, change the angle. And they have thousands of variations. Right. So that's your squat, your deadlift, your row, your military press, your bench press, and your pull-up. That's it. Just master those.
That's it. Master those. Mm-hmm. I know. And like we said, it's simple or easy is where you should put all your effort or all your eggs into that basket of those 6 movements, and then just like do the variations, because it is like thousands of extra. Like you can use a dumbbell, you can use a barbell, mm-hmm. you can use a kettlebell, you can use bands, you can use cables. It's machines. It never ends. So I love that. And what's great about those movements is that they're multi-joint movements.
Yes, so you burn more calories. Yeah. It's more effective of a workout. Yeah. And you can do them anywhere. Yeah. I hear people say, "Oh, I don't have a gym membership. I can't get in shape." Well, get some exercise bands. Go to Ross or TJ Maxx and get a couple of dumbbells, resistance bands, and like a yoga mat. Yeah. Go outside.
That's it. And be consistent.
Yeah.
And stop comparing yourself to every other person, because
well, the comparison, and I always say too, it's tough as a beginner because you're aware of everything you do. So you've got your bloopers, mm-hmm. and then someone on social media is posting their highlight reel. Yeah. So you're comparing your bloopers to their highlight reel, and a lot of social media is smoke and mirrors. Mm-hmm. So the people are using Photoshop, they're taking pictures at crazy angles, and they're weaving this story that is just a fairy tale. Yeah. And I know even me, like I feel like I shouldn't be intimidated by much, but if I spend enough time on social media, I certainly start to feel down on myself. So I can imagine just starting out and looking at these perfectly sculpted physiques. Mm. No one is perfect, and you have to realize that. You just get out there and you take one step at a time, and they say the master of anything was once a beginner. You just have to start and keep going. Yeah, that's awesome advice. You have something coming up next month, which you're pretty excited about. You're going to Africa, South Africa. Yes. And it's IFBB Pro Elite. Elite Pro.
Elite Pro. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going to mix that up. Which sounds really interesting, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. But as you said, it's like kind of brand new.
It is. It's a few months old. Yeah. And it's a worldwide federation. They have different divisions. So they have bikini, but they have a wellness division, which is sort of like a mix between bikini and figure, and the girls are not as lean. They're healthy. So they have this beautiful glowing look on stage. Yeah. There's body fitness, which is how figure kind of used to look a few years ago. So every division has a more athletic look, I feel.
That's awesome.
It's exciting, yeah.
Why do you think that typical, bodybuilder from, if you just go back, 10 years, I guess, mm-hmm. for men and women, it's becoming big time unpopular, right? I mean, people are kind of going back to more of that aesthetically pleasing physique, for both men and women, like the classic physique for the guys and stuff. It's like the big and freaky look has lost a lot of its, oomph. I mean, why did we just get to the point where it was just getting just ungodly, huge, and everyone was just no, it's too much. It's too much.
Maybe, and I think maybe people have become desensitized to it because when the mass monsters came out, it was like, wow, there's a 300-pound man at 3% body fat.
Right.
How is that possible?
Right.
But you look at them and they don't have a waist. The aesthetics have disappeared, and even Arnold stood up and spoke against it, saying they look like, what do you say, like beer bottles with arms.
Yeah.
So it used to be the ideal of, and he said something to the effect of, Mr. Olympia should be someone who walks down the beach and the girls want to get to know and the guys want to look like.
Right.
So.
And it was losing it. It was becoming so niche, right? So like Arnold, as big as Arnold was, over 6 feet tall and like competing at like 240 pounds, he just, he was obviously genetically gifted, hardworking, very strong, he really had it all going for him, but it still he had a body that people wanted to see. It was very attractive, of something to it, and then it just evolved into this like bigger is better like craziness, and then I think people just like were like, no, it's just gotten scary big, like I don't know, I'm glad it's kind of going back this other way, and I'm glad for you because you get to kind of like this thing that you're going over to do in South Africa is definitely more in line with like why you like this.
And the way that I've always looked at it is that if you go into the gym to lift weights with the goal in mind to shape your physique, you're essentially a bodybuilder. And in the last few years, bodybuilding has gotten a bad rap because you think bodybuilder, you think like a fridge with arms, like something huge. But really, we're all bodybuilders because we're all trying to improve the way our physique looks with weights.
Right.
And the new divisions are amazing because it gives these people a platform. People like you and me who want to get on stage and they want to showcase their work. But I know for me, I wouldn't go back to a figure competition because the girls probably have 20, 30 pounds on me. And I would look... like who let the
skinny
who let her
girl
in, yeah. So it's nice to have different divisions for that now.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I thank you so much for stopping by and giving us some of your time, and I'm excited for you on this new, because it's been like 4 years?
It's been 4 years, yeah.
Since you've had competition there, that'll be like really exciting, like butterflies and all that stuff
definitely.
coming, yeah. So it's been a pleasure to have you here, the Strong by Design podcast. First time having you here at the compound.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. And so it's been Coach Chris talking with Ms Erin Stern, the training like an athlete for the perfect body. There's nobody better to talk to about it than Erin, and we thank her for her time, and thank you for listening.